Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So last year in 2021, I was pretty lucky to be able to do quite a lot of traveling around Japan. It was mainly for work, but I was able to edge ever so slightly closer to one of my ultimate goals here, which is to visit every single one of Japan's 47 prefectures. So this year I want to keep the ball rolling and do even more traveling, and to help me keep track of where I've been, I'm going to be using this cool new app that I recently found called Keikenchi. So the way that this app works is you press start, you then click map, edit, and you're presented with a list of the 47 prefectures of Japan. And if you click on any of these prefectures, you're presented with a list of 6 different options, and each one is worth a different amount of points. So starting from the bottom, we have haven't visited, which is 0 points. If you've passed through the prefecture, perhaps on a train or in a car, that's 1 point. If you've stopped there to make an exchange but haven't actually left the station, that's 2 points. If you've been to the prefecture and walked around, that's 3 points. If you've stayed overnight for at least 1 night, then that's 4 points. And if you've lived there, that is 5 points. So as you can see, the scale is pretty simple, and I think anybody can play along. So if you want to, you can find a link for the app down in the video description and follow me along in this video. Okay, let's get started. So we'll work our way through the list here from top left to bottom right, and it looks like we're starting in the north in Hokkaido and working our way all the way down to the most southern point of Japan, which is Okinawa. Okay, so perhaps a bad start to the game in general, but the first 2 prefectures on the list I've never actually been to. The first one is Hokkaido, which is the most northern of Japan's 4 main islands, and it's somewhere that I'm absolutely 100% going to go to in 2022. It's a place that just looks so beautiful in any season, winter, summer, autumn, or spring, and it's constantly winning #1 spot for Japan's most desirable prefecture to live in. So something's telling me I've got to go there. And Aomori is the most northern prefecture of Japan's main island, Honshu, which contains over half of Japan's prefectures. So the next 2 prefectures, Iwate and Miyagi, were actually 2 I visited for the first time last year. And that was to help with the camera work on the Ken Watanabe documentary over on the Abroad in Japan channel. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, you definitely should. The bulk of the video was filmed in a town called Kesennuma, which is a small portside town that was unfortunately destroyed in the 2011 tsunami, but it's now being completely rebuilt. And like I say, if you watch the documentary, you'll be able to see how brand new everything looks and how much of a good job they've done of restoring the town. So for Iwate, I get 2 points just for changing trains at Ichinoseki Station, and for Miyagi, I get 4 points for staying over for several nights. So again, not doing too great on the next few prefectures of AKITA, Yamagata, and Fukushima. I've never been to the first 2, but again, they're on my list for this year. But Fukushima, I have passed through on the train, although I didn't change, so that will just be 1 point. For the next prefecture of Ibaraki, I'll take 3 points. I've only been there 1 time, but that was to hike up Mount Tsukuba, which is quite a big mountain near Tokyo, but fairly leisurely walk, depends on which route you take. But overall good views, and probably one of the best things to see in Ibaraki. So the next prefecture of Tochigi is again one I've only been to once and I only visited for the day, so that'll be 3 points. The reason I went there was to film a video for my other channel, Japan Go, and we visited the Ashikaga Scramble City studio. It's a set that has now been used for quite a few big budget films, but perhaps most famously, it was used for Alice in Borderland, the hit 2020 series on Netflix. It's definitely a cool video and you should go and check it out at the link here, and subscribe to Japan Go if you haven't already. Next up is Gunma, a place I've actually stayed at quite a few different times on a few different occasions. Most recently, I was on a shoot to Kusatsu Onsen town, which is really cool. It's got like a natural hot spring in the middle of the town, and at night time all the steam kind of billows up and just kind of takes over the whole place. So the next prefecture of Saitama is somewhere I actually go almost every week, and basically is Tokyo by most people's definition of the city. But the reason I go there is to go to my shamisen lessons, which by the way I'm hoping to make an update video on fairly soon, as I think my last shamisen video was around 2 years ago, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Despite how often I go to Saitama though, I've never actually stayed the night, so that'll just be 3 points. Chiba Prefecture is home to perhaps one of Tokyo's biggest attractions, Disneyland. But unfortunately, I've never actually been, and honestly don't really have much of an interest to go there. But I think one of my favourite things that I've done in Chiba is hike up Mount Nokogiriyama, and all the way at the top there is a stone ledge called Jigoku Nozoki, and when you peer over it there is a drop of 300 meters. It's pretty terrifying, but definitely a cool place to check out, and one of my top recommendations if you're in Tokyo but want to experience a little bit more of Japan's countryside. That was also a video over on Japan Go, so you can go check that out here. Next we come to Tokyo, my first and only 5-point prefecture, on the list. It's where I currently live, but it's also the only prefecture that I've lived in Japan. I don't think Tokyo needs much describing though, so let's move on to the next one. Kanagawa Prefecture is located directly below Tokyo and probably is best known for its largest city, Yokohama. Actually, during my first year here in Japan, I used to work in Yokohama and I used to stay there quite often, so that will be 4 points. Next up is NIIGATA, which I believe I've been to twice, and both times were to go snowboarding. I don't actually remember the name of the ski resort or the mountain I went to at the time, but I do know that NIIGATA is one of Japan's most mountainous prefectures and is occupied by the Japanese Alps. Neighbouring to the west of NIIGATA are another 3 prefectures, which unfortunately I've never been to. We have Toyama, Ishikawa, and Fukui. Somewhere I have been several times though is the next prefecture of Yamanashi. It's one of my favourite places in Japan to go camping, and it's home to the 5 lakes of Mount Fuji. My most recommended of which is probably Lake Motosu, which has a campsite on the edge of the lake and a perfect view of Mount Fuji, which is the same view that can be seen on the back of a 1,000 yen note. Next up is Nagano, which is a place I've probably been to the last 3 years, I think, during winter to go snowboarding. It's where you'll find the town of Hakuba, and the mountain range there is, I think, the 2nd biggest ski resort in all of Japan. And again, I was pretty lucky recently to go on a shoot to the world famous Jigokudani Monkey Onsen Park, which, as the name implies, is an onsen full of monkeys. If you don't know what an onsen is though, it's basically just a geothermally heated pool of natural water and basically a hot bath. The snow monkeys in this particular area though used to enter the onsen used by humans, and as I'm sure you can imagine, that's probably not the most hygienic thing to happen when you're trying to have a bath. So the humans built a separate onsen specifically for the monkeys, and to this day, as winter starts to roll around, the monkeys will get into the bath and use it just like humans do. And in 2019, I worked on a video series with Gaijin Pot to help promote some of the central prefectures in Japan. For one of these videos, we went to Nagano and also its neighbouring prefecture of GIFU. In GIFU, we got up to loads of cool things, but perhaps one of my favourite was just walking along the Nakasendo, which is an old trade route and used to be used to carry things from Kyoto all the way to Edo City, which is now current day Tokyo. Shizuoka Prefecture lies on the south side of Mount Fuji, and if you look at the map, its border with the neighbouring prefecture of Yamanashi actually runs directly down the middle of the mountain. Shizuoka is a prefecture that is famous for its green tea production and is also another fantastic place to go camping in Japan. The next 2 prefectures of Aichi and Mie were also places I visited during the project with Gaijin Pot. In Aichi, maybe my favourite spot was Toyota City, which is actually named after the company, whose name is just completely prevalent throughout the whole town. And also I was lucky enough to go on a behind-the-scenes tour of Toyota Stadium, which was a big part of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. And in Mie Prefecture, you have tons of amazing scenery, the food is amazing, and all the people are just lovely. Now actually, there's 3 prefectures here that I think a lot of people will visit all at the same time. We have Kyoto, Osaka, and Nara. And while the overall prefectures are pretty big, all of their main cities, Kyoto City, Osaka City, and Nara City, all seem to converge in quite close proximity to one another. Kyoto, as you may know, is the old capital of Japan, so it's full of temples, shrines, tons of history, and maybe the most famous shrine in the whole of Japan, Fushimi Inari Taisha and its 10,000 red torii gates. Osaka is known for its friendly and, by Japanese standards, its unusually forward locals. It's also said to be the home of okonomiyaki, one of Japan's favourite comfort foods. And finally we have Nara, which is most famous for its local deer, romanticised on Western TV shows as animals that will bow to humans, when in reality it's all a facade and they're willing to chase you to the end of the earth for a rice cracker. So next up is Hyogo Prefecture, which I've only been to once, but I think this might be one of my absolute favourite memories of all my time in Japan. Again, this was filming for another video. We visited Owaji Island to see the full-scale replica of Godzilla. And not only is it impressive to see a full-scale model of the King of Monsters, but you can zip line through his mouth. I visited Wakayama Prefecture a couple of years ago to make a video about Kawaku Hotel, which apart from being an absolute ridiculously decadent building, actually holds a World Guinness record for the largest surface area of ceiling covered in gold leaf. If you really want to know what a luxury hotel experience is like in Japan, then go and check out this video. Next up, we've got another 2 passes for Tottori and Shimane. Next up is Okayama, which I haven't been to either, but I have passed through it on the way to Hiroshima. So Hiroshima Prefecture is obviously home to Hiroshima City, which is probably most famous for its atomic dome, the site where an atomic bomb was detonated above the city in 1945 at the end of World War II. Nowadays though, the city is flourishing. At the centre of it all, you have the beautiful Peace Park, the food is great, the people are lovely, and overall it's just a really clean city. Yamaguchi Prefecture, been through on the Shinkansen, 1 point. The next 4 prefectures of Tokushima, Kagawa, Ehime, and Kochi make up the smallest of Japan's 4 main islands, Shikoku. So I've never actually been to Shikoku, but I have been to a small island called Aoshima, which is off the coast of Ehime Prefecture. Now Aoshima is famous for being Japan's most populous cat island. With over 100 cats and at last count only 6 humans still living there, it's one of the most unique places in Japan. Next up is Fukuoka, which is actually where my wife is from, so I've been there 4 or 5 times by now, and usually to Fukuoka City, which is best known for its tonkotsu ramen, which I think most people would agree is the best flavour of ramen, and if you don't agree then I'll wait for you to leave. Neighbouring Fukuoka we have the prefectures of Saga and Nagasaki. I've never been to either of those, but this year I would like to go to Nagasaki, not to the mainland, but actually to the island that's been made quite famous by a recent video game called Ghost of Tsushima. Tsushima Island lies about 100 kilometers off the coast of Nagasaki and is the real-world setting of real historical events that inspired the fictional story of the game. The next prefecture is Kumamoto, which I have passed through on the train a couple of times, but actually recently for work I was able to visit Tamana City. Like many places in Japan, it's steeped in tradition and has a strong connection to the water, but one thing I think that makes the layout of Tamana a little more unique is its permeation of canals throughout the city. On the coast there are also hundreds of square kilometers of reclaimed lands that are now used for agriculture. I went to Oita City for the first time last year I believe, to the city of Hita, and again this was for another video, but this time based around the massively popular manga and anime series Attack on Titan. So this is definitely one to check out for you anime nerds. Next up is Miyazaki Prefecture, which I've only been through on the train, but on that train I was headed to Kagoshima Prefecture. So the only time I've been to Kagoshima was actually visiting my wife's grandmother, who lives just outside of Kagoshima City, somewhere in a small little village up in the mountains. But it's also home to Japan's highest quality beef and winner of the last Wagyu Olympics, and also the notorious Sakurajima, which is Japan's most currently active volcano. And last up on the list we have Okinawa, which is quite famous for being a tropical paradise. In fact, it's so far from Japan, it's almost not in Japan. So I've only been to Okinawa once, but I spent a week there last year, and it might be one of the best weeks I've spent in Japan. Just sunny beaches, I went scuba diving, I went snorkeling, everything was just beautiful, the food is amazing, and all the people are super friendly. So I'm really looking forward to going back this year. Okay guys, and with that I've got a total score of 109 points. So, I don't know, not too bad. I was hoping to get over 100. So that's pretty good, I guess. As you can see from the list, there's still quite a few places that I haven't visited, and there's quite a few places I've only been through. I think the hardest category really to kind of scrape those last few points once you've visited every prefecture is the top category, 5 points for living there. I can't imagine that I'll be moving out of Tokyo anytime soon. So even if I do visit and stay in every prefecture, I'll never really be able to achieve the ultimate full score. So hopefully some of you guys at home were following along, but let me know down in the comments, what was your Japan prefecture experience score? So thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're excited for some new adventures in 2022. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you really liked it, and I'll see you guys next time.